Hi everyone, these are my likes and dislikes of the Nikon P900. It is a 24 to 2000 millimeter camera. Of course, that's a crazy zoom, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, but first I want to deal with a few other things first. Ergonomically, I like this camera a lot. It fits really well in your hands. It's got a nice deep grip, as you can see, which makes it easier to hold with very, very minimal effort. You can shoot one-handed if you've got the hand strength to do so, of course. And what I've also noticed, I've never really experienced over the few weeks of shooting with this camera any awkward moments changing settings on the fly. So I got used to those very quickly, even though I typically shoot with Canon and the FZ1000 from Lumix. Having said that, this camera only has one custom function button, whereas the similarly sized body of that 1000 or FZ1000 has 5. So a little bit of Nikon on the cheap there. You do get an articulating LCD screen, and that's just fine. But when it comes to the electronic viewfinder, it is what I consider on the small side for a camera this size, and more than 2 times a lower resolution than the FZ1000 I just mentioned before, and that camera is actually 2 years old. So more importantly, though, and that's this is the part where I found myself getting frustrated with this camera at times, it doesn't have an eye cup. And the eye cup really blocks the light from getting between your eye and your electronic viewfinder. It's useful to review your pictures outdoors as well, and of course when you're composing pictures in bright light. And I don't understand why they wouldn't put an eye cup on this, because it really makes the shooting experience frustrating at times. And at the time that I'm shooting this video, it's May 2016, can't remember the date, sorry. At this point, there's no third-party option for an eye cup for this camera, unless you adapt some other camera's eye cup to this one. In terms of battery life, the battery life is decent, but you got to charge your battery with a cable in the camera. Hello, Canon SureShot 2002. Like, really? I realize they're trying to save money, but really, this is another one of those Nikon on the cheap moments. You can get a third-party charger, I know, but you're shopping for an eye cup and a charger now. And but wait, there's more. As far as getting another infomercial moment, yes, there's more. If you want to make your shooting experience in bright light with this camera even more friggin' frustrating, you do not get a lens hood. So now we're up to 3 things that you pretty much have to get. Okay, so Nikon on the cheap doesn't provide a lens hood. Ka-ching. Now, in terms of focus, the P900 is generally fast and accurate in good light, but it really struggles and misses in low light. It's not so much a camera for fast-moving objects. In other words, fantastic camera for birding, you know, capturing birds and trees and stuff, but definitely not the camera for moving birds or flying birds. I know you can pre-focus with the camera, but I'm referring to how well the camera actually focuses, not technical workarounds. As far as the zoom is concerned, of course, this is where this camera shines. 24 to 2000. You can't find that anywhere. And we're talking about optical zoom, not digital. So the 2 things I was going to immediately assess when I got the camera is its image stabilization and whether it was effective at full telephoto for me to shoot handheld, and whether the lens was still good enough to capture good quality images at 2000 millimeters. And the answer is yes. I was able to get many quality shots at the long end, and that actually kind of surprised me. You know, because a lot of these extra telephoto lenses really fail to produce quality images at the long end of the lens. So, you know, if you're shooting at 2000 millimeters, though, you probably want to have your subject matter occupy maybe half or more of your frame, as small details will start to fall apart to aggressive noise reduction. In other words, you know, if you're shooting at 2000 millimeters and this is what you're focusing on, it's not going to look great. But if it's somewhere around here, it's going to look really, really good. And you'll see some of the bird pictures that I got actually had a lot of nice detail. Just try to keep your ISO below 400, because after that, aggressive noise reduction does get in the way. In terms of auto ISO configuration, well, it's disappointing since Nikon DSLR really has always had great customizable auto ISO settings in their DSLRs, and it's a shame that they can't incorporate it in all their cameras. I don't understand that reason, but you know, with this camera, you can, with auto ISO, you can set a minimum shutter speed of 1/30th, 1/60th, and 1/125th of a second. So, you know, why? I don't know. Maybe it's because faster minimum shutter speeds means you're also pushing up the ISO, and Nikon doesn't want to leave you disappointed with their high ISO performance. So, anyways, to summarize this camera, the shooting experience will surprise you in a positive way and then disappoint you all at the same time. The shortcomings won't prevent you from getting good pictures, but they might frustrate your shooting experience over time. And I'm not really into shooting birds, but I found myself shooting birds because I could. I was surprised sometimes where I saw something from a distance and I zoomed in thinking, well, I'll get close to it. And all of a sudden I was like, boom, face to face with something I was focusing in. So the immense zoom range of this camera really makes shooting fun. But as somebody who uses the EVF probably 90% of the time, I did find that very, very frustrating. And so I guess it all depends on your tolerances and your shooting preferences and stuff like that. So I'll let you decide that. But hopefully if you do get the camera, you can get a camera that's going to give you at least a return policy so you can really sink your teeth into the features of this camera, which of course I haven't completely addressed, but just a quick overview to my likes and dislikes. And hopefully if you like the video, like it. Ciao.